it's amazing the difference it has in your actual body.
Yep.
Like the way that we think about ourselves. I mean, how many negative thoughts are holding us back, you know, thinking certain things about ourselves, thinking that we're not smart enough to learn certain things. And then really what happens too is to make matters even worse, we just don't even go down those roads. Like those roads are closed, you know, closed for construction, but you're never going to actually work on it. There's never going to be any actual construction going on. It's just you closed off that lane and it's not open to you. You're like, I'm never going to mess with that. It's terrible. It's you know, it can be a really massively problematic thing that most people deal with.
Press play.
Sure thing.
Between our mindsets and our bodies. So to test this, I worked with my colleagues at Yale, Kelly Brownell, Will Corbin, and Peter Salovey, and we did so by making a big batch of milkshakes. So we made this big batch of milkshakes, and then we invited people to come to our lab to try the milkshakes, and in exchange, we would give them $75. Sounds great, right? Well, the less appealing aspect of the agreement was that while they were drinking the shakes, we had them hooked up to an IV so we could get their blood samples. We were out to measure ghrelin. Ghrelin is a peptide secreted in the gut. The medical experts call this the hunger hormone. So when we haven't eaten in a while, our ghrelin levels start to rise, signaling to the brain it's time to seek out food and slowing our metabolism to, you know, just in case we don't find that food. Now, say we go out, we find and we devour a milkshake, a hamburger, some French fries, our ghrelin levels drop, signaling to our brain, time to stop eating, and revving up the metabolism so we can burn the food that was just consumed. So the participants came in, we hooked them up to an IV, and then we gave them a milkshake. Sensa shake. This is 0% fat, 140 calories, 0 added sugar. This is guilt-free satisfaction. So they drank this shake, and in response, their ghrelin levels dropped, but only very slightly, signaling to the brain that some food had been consumed, but not a whole lot. So a week later, they came back to our lab, we hooked them up to an IV again, and we gave them this shake. 620 calories, 30 grams of fat, 56 grams of sugar. Now this is decadence you deserve. And in response to this shake, their ghrelin levels dropped again, but this time at a significantly steeper rate, about 3 times more than the shake they had before. Now this would make good sense to any metabolic nutritionist who understands that the drop in ghrelin is proportional to the amount of calories consumed. But there was a catch. In this study, even though the participants thought they had consumed the sensible shake and the indulgent shake, in reality, we gave them the exact same shake at both time points. So what does this tell us? Well, just as in the case when the same amount of morphine produced more or less of an effect depending on our awareness, and just as in the case when the same amount of exercise produced more or less of a benefit depending on how it was construed, here again, our mindsets proved to matter. In this case, suggesting it might not be just calories in and calories out, or the precise makeup of fats, nutrients.
What?
But what we
Scared me.
what we expect, what we think about the foods we eat, that determines our body's response. So in light of this,
right,
it behooves us.
Yo. Yeah, okay.
Hey, yo.
Like, guys, the reason why that's so crazy, that's so odd, is because calories in, calories out matters. We know that. But that made me think about, like, you know, when we started doing, like, fasting, right? When we talk about it to each other, when we talk about it to people, we're not like, oh, you're going to feel so hungry and, you know, it's going to be really tough for you not to eat and you're going to go through the day dragging, etc.
You're not going to be able to do your jiu-jitsu or lift as heavy.
Right? When we talk about it and when we think about it, it's like, you know, you get used to hunger. Hunger becomes something that's not even a big deal. When we get to eat, we feast, we eat a lot of food, we feel good. And through the day, we're clear-headed because, you know, we're not digesting all this food. Our mindset towards it is like, oh, this is a positive thing that's going to be good for us. It's going to be good for our diet, and we're not going to lose muscle, which we haven't. But that, like what she mentioned right there, it's like the individuals who thought that that shake was a low-calorie shake, right? They immediately, their ghrelin dropped a little bit, but that means that they wanted to eat more food because of the perception of what they were eating. Just like people on carnivore, if you perceive your diet serving you, whatever diet you're doing, there's a likely chance that your diet's going to serve you.
100%. And I think, you know, for me with my diet, like I kind of make some stuff up. Like I got beliefs that really don't make any sense. I've had beliefs like in lifting that don't make any sense. Just in like, I'm just going to trust in myself. I know better, like not in an arrogant way, not like I'm just going to deny what everybody else says completely, but I'm just going to go by how I feel. I never followed any programming. I just always just lifted, and it worked. It ended up working out well. When it comes to my nutrition, you know, maybe a couple years ago, I started to adopt this idea that protein's kind of free. Like I personally think that protein's kind of free, and it's something that I've adopted. And I know that that's not necessarily maybe the most scientific information to share with people, but I think it's like almost like a free calorie. And it is debatable on whether it's, you know, 4 calories per gram versus maybe it being a little less. People think that it should be like 2, but I personally believe that it's free. So if I'm hungry, what am I going to eat? I'm going to eat more protein. I'm going to keep crushing protein. That might be science or something that refutes some of that. But again, what's the impact this is maybe having on my body if I believe this to be true? Since that time, I've adopted a couple other things to be free. Ice cream, pizza, no. Vegetables, and as well as fruit now. So at the end of every day, I eat a giant fucking bowl of fruit. It's strawberries, blueberries. Sometimes there might be pineapple or banana. It just depends. I take cottage cheese. This is the way vanilla protein. I mix that in cottage cheese. I dump some cinnamon in there. I throw the fruit on top of it, and it's fucking amazing. And I sit down, I watch some TV with my wife, and that's the way I end every night after dinner. I just keep getting leaner and leaner. So it's helping. It's serving me. It's helpful to me to kind of adopt some of these principles where I believe that I believe in the program that I'm on. I believe in what it is that I'm doing.
You know, and along with that real quick, yeah, you mentioned protein being free, but there's a level of, we've had people come onto the podcast like Alan Aragon, who's the guy that wrote
Ted
Neiman, right? And they talk about, they literally give you information as to why like more protein doesn't act like when you eat excessive amounts of carbohydrates or fat. They give you the reasoning.
It's not a great human energy source.
Exactly.
It's not the same as fat and carbohydrates.
Exactly. So they give us the information. And I think one big thing to remember here is in the maids study, those maids got information about why what they were doing was good for them, right? So there's a level of belief that you need to have in terms of what you're doing. But then there's a level of bolstering that belief with information. For example, fasting. When I first started it, I wanted to start it because I wanted more mental focus and clarity. And I found information that helped me figure out, oh, this will be good for that. But then I also found information that told me, oh, wow, it's actually going to be good for your appetite and this and this. I found information to bolster my argument. This can be kind of warped because on the internet, you can find anything to bolster your argument, right? But at the same time, you can also find a bunch of things to refute what you're doing. So we've heard Lane Norton in the past talk negatively about fasting. We've heard different professionals talk negatively about fasting and other things that we may do. And when you input that information of people saying, oh, this is bad for this reason, this reason, this reason, and this reason, if you really respect those individuals and respect their opinions, that will then inform your belief in terms of what you're doing. So you hear someone say, like, actually, Paul Saladino, you hear him mention that vegetables are bad for you and they'll poison you, and he'll talk about all these different things. And now when you go eat a piece of broccoli, you break out in hives. Because I'm not even playing about this, because now you believe that this is really bad for you and it's going to hurt you. And then you eat it, and it never used to be bad in the past, but now you have a negative feeling towards vegetables. So you really got to be careful about the type of stuff you allow yourself to believe from the individuals that you respect. You got to kind of have a filter. You know, it's tough because maybe some of the things they're saying is correct, but is it serving you or is it not?
The Power Project family, how's it going? Now on this podcast, Mark, Andrew, and I, we talk about fasting a lot. We talk about the ketogenic diet and a lot of different types of diets, but Bubs Naturals has a product. They have the collagen protein, which is amazing. They have these apple cider vinegar gummies, which are like crack, but they have
they have these
MCT oil powder packets that I've never used to do this, but in the morning I'll wake up and I'll put it in coffee, and the smoothness, number one, in terms of the mixing is amazing, but the consistency of my energy through the day because of the MCT oil powder is peak. Andrew, how's your experience with it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's like the best way to start the day. You're satiated, you're energized, and you're just ready to crush the day. So if you guys want to get in on this MC2 oil powder, head over to bubsnaturals.com and at checkout, enter promo code Power Project to save 20% off your entire order. Again, Bubs Naturals, promo code Power Project to save 20% off. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Yeah, I've been really high up on like a lot of this belief systems and stuff since we've been talking about it and since I've been learning from you guys. But the way I look at it now is if I research something that is, we'll just use the Saladino thing. If I go hard in the paint and I research how carnivore is so good for me and vegetables are so bad for me, that's true. That is now true. Nobody can refute that. But then if I also go and search, insert somebody who eats everything, I can't think of anybody at the second. Okay. And Nsima just said, wait, I can have steak, I can have vegetables, and then every once in a while I can have some good carbs.
I can eat an apple without getting fat.
That is now true. If I go back again and see that plants are trying to kill me, I'm going to get sick again. That's now true. So like kind of what I started doing is like especially with the GOTA coaches that were here, I am just like all in on everything positive GOTA. I could easily go find something negative.
Oh, easily.
And then now all of a sudden now my judgment's a little, clouded. I've done that my whole life and I've gotten nowhere. So I'm going to only focus on the positive stuff and good like outcomes. And that's now my truth.
Yeah.
I know we kind of joke about it's my truth, but it is because literally in my world, there is nothing different. If I go find it, then that is now true again.
And it's a tough one because this is what we just got into right here is a little bit murky because I know that we're seeking truth about all this. Like what's true? But you got to because you can find things on both sides. You can find people that talk about the benefits of carnivore. You can find people that talk about like carnivore is going to give you cancer. It's the worst thing.
And both of them are true.
Both, there are levels, right?
But that's what I was getting at is like, if I believe that later on down the road, if I get cancer or something like, fuck, they were all right, whatever. If I don't, then it's like, they were also all right. You know what I mean? Like, I hope that I'm conveying that message well enough to just say that like, no matter what you invest your time and energy into, that is going to be true for you.
You kind of have to buy in.
Yeah.
Like when people always talk about the buy-in, like it doesn't mean that if you believe something, that means that everyone else who doesn't believe what you believe is shit. Right. But you got to buy into what you're doing. Like we as lifters, we bought into fasting, which most lifters are going to say that's bad for your muscle. It's bad for strength. We bought into it and we gained some massive benefits. And we've bought into a lot of other things that people would think is wild and stupid, but it's brought us massive benefit. So you really got to let yourself be like, I'm going to try this and I'm going to reap some benefits from it.
And you don't have to necessarily take every negative and try to spin it into a positive and try to be necessarily super happy or super chipper or pumped up about every single thing. But I think you just want to do your best to just really not go down that negative path and take on things that you feel are going to serve you best and hold on to those things. And if you have a certain arm routine that you do and you train your arms every day and you got 19-inch arms, sounds like you found something that's pretty good, you know? There's probably not a lot of reasons for you to listen to or to take on somebody saying that you're going to have elbow tendonitis the rest of your life, or you're going to have arthritis in your hands because you train your arms too often. You found something that's working well. We got to trust our gut. We got to trust our intuition on some of these things. And when you find something like that, I think that all these things can help you mitigate stress because you found some stuff that can keep you more on the side of happy rather than more on the side of suffering. You know, in Buddhist cultures, they believe that life is half happiness and half suffering. I actually believe that there's a huge part that's missed out on, and I think that people might think this is suffering, but I don't really view it that way, is just idle time. Like there's just like there's stuff that's just like neutral. It's just like, meh, you know, but I think that in those times, that's when you need to have a skill set that either keeps you neutral or moves you over towards the happiness side. Let me see if I go on a walk, what that will do for me, because there's just ain't shit going on right now. I don't have any phone calls to make. I don't have any emails, or I don't feel like lifting. I don't feel like doing A, B, or C. Let me just see how going for a walk is going to do. And then maybe you go for a walk and it starts raining like crazy out. And you're like, shit, maybe that bugs you. Maybe that annoys you. So you go back inside. But then what do you do? Well, then maybe you're like, well, I haven't eaten yet today. Might as well change my plans. I was going to fast a little longer. Stay on the plan. Okay, it's not going to help me any further to go off plan. So I'm going to eat steak and eggs. You eat the steak and eggs, and then you look outside and you're like, oh, it stopped raining. All right, I'm going to go on a walk. You know, or I kind of feel a little bit more energy because I ate. Now I'm going to go to the gym. Now I'm going to go get some training in.
Real quick, because there's the last part on this, I want to mention this. Look at everything that we bring onto the podcast as like an addition to your utility belt. You know how Batman has his utility belt and he can pull out every fucking
Where's he
gadget?
get all those wonderful toys?
Right? Where's he get it?
Shark spray.
Shark spray. But this is the thing to think about. By the way, we like Paul Saladino. I mentioned that thing about Paul because of what he used to say about vegetables. But when Paul came on the podcast and has come on the podcast, you know, he talks about vegetables in a certain way. Right, I will take certain things that what he talks about carnivore and like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's beneficial, it's great, and then I'll take certain things about what he says about vegetables. But I know that I don't respond negatively to vegetables, and I've never have. So I don't allow myself to believe that for myself that these vegetables are bad for me. And when Alan Aragon came on, or Mike Israetel, and both Mark and I did fasting, and they were talking about how like, oh, you know, for performance or for protein, it might be a better idea just to have a few more protein feedings instead of like totally not fasting anymore. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me just fucking have some protein during my day when I'm fasting, even though most people aren't going to say that that's fasting, just so I can get a little bit extra protein.
What about your autophagy?
Oh, autophagy, right? But I take this information, I take what serves me, we take what serves us, and we delete what doesn't. It's like, that's what you kind of got to do so you can set up your protocol, your life. Hey, little mama, let me whisper in your ear. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel because we continue to bring you
Peak content on this channel. Obviously, you guys are here. You guys have watched the whole video. So like, comment, subscribe. All right. See you later.